You'll never guess who's behind the Christchurch Mosque massacre, according to one of the most prominent Muslim leaders in New Zealand. Ahmed Bhamji is chairman of one of New Zealand's largest mosques. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern spoke at his mosque following the Christchurch shootings. Ahmed Bhamji is the one who introduced her, and the Prime Minister thanked him.
I want to begin by thanking Ahmed and Mohammed, first of all, for opening up your place of worship, your community's place of worship.
Bhamji clearly has a lot of influence among Muslims in New Zealand, so when he starts blaming people for the Christchurch shootings, we should all pay close attention. Bhamji was invited to speak at the Love Aotearoa Hate Racism rally in Auckland. Aotearoa is the Maori name for New Zealand. So this is a rally about loving New Zealand and hating racism. Of course, in the United States and Europe, lots of groups that say they're all about love and they're only against hate are some of the most hateful groups on the planet. They wear a mask that says love over their enraged, hate-spewing faces in order to dupe their gullible listeners. And the only thing they really love is using recent violent attacks to further their own agendas. When there's some sort of mass violence, this is an opportunity for these groups to blame whomever they happen to hate most. Now, I hope that things are different in New Zealand. I hope that the mosque shootings aren't being used to promote political ideologies or to vilify people who had nothing to do with the attacks. I hope that speakers like Ahmed Bhamji will use his platform to genuinely promote love. Let's watch some clips. Bhamji began by asking questions about where the shooter got his money for the mosque attacks.
Do you think this guy was alone? I want to ask you, where did he get the funding from? Where was he getting the money from?
Obviously, there's no way the shooter could have saved up enough money to buy guns and bullets all by himself. It's impossible. So he must have been funded by some group. And that group had better start running because super sleuth Ahmed Bhamji is on the case.
I will not mince words. I stand here and I say I have a very, very strong suspicion that there is some group behind him, and I am not afraid to say I feel Mossad is behind this.
Is that true? Israel's behind it!
Mossad, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know what Mossad is, it's Israel's national intelligence agency. So, the Israeli government decided that Muslims in the mosques of Christchurch, New Zealand were a threat to Israel, a threat that had to be eliminated. But Mossad wasn't counting on mosque chairman Ahmed Bhamji, the world's greatest Muslim detective, exposing their plot. And the conspiracy goes deeper because Mossad wasn't alone. Local Zionist businesses in New Zealand were funding the mosque shooter.
And not only them, there are some business houses also who are around, Zionist business houses, they are behind him.
Take that, Jewish business owners in New Zealand. You just got exposed at the Love Aotearoa Hate Racism rally. Now, Ahmed Bhamji hasn't offered any evidence to connect Jewish business owners or Mossad to the mosque shootings. So how did the Sherlock Holmes of New Zealand Muslims figure this out? Well, he got some help from his prophet. Let's follow the evidence. Surah 98, verse 6 of the Quran calls Jews, Christians, and polytheists the worst of creatures. Verily, those who disbelieve in the religion of Islam, the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad, from among the people of the Scripture, Jews and Christians, and al-mushrikun, mushrikun are people who associate partners with Allah, will abide in the fire of hell. They are the worst of creatures. So, Allah declares that Jews are among the worst of all creatures. They're lower than dogs. They're lower than pigs. This is one of the reasons Muhammad decided to expel all Jews from the Arabian Peninsula, as he stated in Sahih Muslim 4594. I shall certainly expel the Jews and Christians from the Arabian Peninsula until I leave only Muslims there. But Jews are even worse than Christians, according to Allah, because while Christians can be quite loving, Jews are the most prominent enemies of Muslims. Allah proclaims in Surah 5, verse 82 of the Holy Quran, "Verily, you will find the strongest among men in enmity to the believers, i.e. Muslims, the Jews and those who are al-mushrikun." The Jews are such tremendous enemies of Muslims that Muhammad prophesied that Muslims would be fighting them to the bitter end. Sahih Muslim 7335. It was narrated from Ibn Umar that the Prophet said, "Most certainly you will fight the Jews, and you will fight them until a rock says, 'O Muslim, here is a Jew, come and kill him.'" Clearly, if the Quran is the word of Allah and Muhammad is a true prophet, there must be endless hostility and violence between Muslims and Jews. Ahmed Bhamji understands this. So when there are attacks against New Zealand's mosques, he knows exactly who's behind them. It's the Jews. It's always the Jews. We can only be thankful that this Jewish conspiracy was finally uncovered at the Love Aotearoa Hate Racism rally in New Zealand. So much love, so much hate. For racism, that is. The Muslims who were slaughtered in their mosques in the name of racism did not die in vain. Their blood has become the soil from which a new harvest of anti-Semitism will be reaped by New Zealand's Muslim leaders.